Good day, everybody. Today we are going to be talking about fractions. First off, let's cover a little bit of vocabulary. We start with this fraction here, 3/4, 3 over 4. You've got a numerator there and a denominator. The numerator is what we refer to as the top number, and the denominator is what we refer to as the bottom number. Our other two vocabulary words here, improper fraction and mixed number, those kind of correlate to the same thing. Let's say I have a fraction that is 5 over 3. Okay, this is what we would consider an improper fraction because 5 is bigger than 3. So if my top number is bigger than my bottom number, it's what we call an improper fraction. Now, a mixed number, on the other hand, is when we have a whole number and a fraction. So it mixes the whole number with the fraction. So really, an improper fraction is the fractional form of a mixed number. Because if you think about it, if I have 5 over 3, and then I take an item here and I divide it into thirds. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3. So I need another one. I take another item and I divide it into thirds. Then I have 1, 2. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thirds, which means that's the same as 1 whole and 2 thirds. We can also think about this the opposite way, 2 and 2 thirds being, so there's 1, 2, 3. There's another one for my 2, 4, 5, 6. And then I need a third one that I divide into thirds, but then I would only shade 1, 2 of those. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That would be 8 thirds. Okay, so just keep that in mind as we move forward. Numerator is your top number, denominator is your bottom. Improper fraction is when our top number is bigger than our smaller, and our mixed numbers are where we have a whole number and a fraction. The next thing we need to look at is equivalent fractions and simplest form. Okay, so if I take 3/4, I want you to think about this first as if I multiply it by 1, that's going to equal 3/4, right? So 3/4 times 1 is 3/4. Anytime I multiply a number by itself, it's going to equal 1. Well, what's another way that we can write the number 1? You think about that while I'm erasing the 1 here. Okay. Anytime that my top number is the same as my bottom number, that is a 1. If I have 3 out of 3 parts, so if I have a circle here and my line kind of whatever, but 1, 2, 3 of those thirds are shaded, that equals 1 whole. So saying 3 out of 3 is the same as saying a whole. So if I'm going to multiply 3/4 by 3 over 3, I just multiply the top and the bottom number. 3 times 3 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12. So 3/4 is the same as 3/12. Or not, wow. Whoop. Mr. Pratt, you can do math. 3 times 3 is 9. So 3/4 is the same as 9/12. Okay, so there's two different ways we can check. If I have 4/5 and 8/10, there's two different ways I can check to see if those two fractions are equal or not. First off, just think about it. If I have 4 times 2 equals 8, right? So 4 times 2 equals 8. Well, 5 times what is going to equal 10? That's 2 again. If my top number and my bottom number are the same, then all I've done is multiply that 4/5 by 1 to give it an equal fraction. The other way we can think about it is what we call cross multiplication. So if I have 4 times 10, that equals 40, and I have 5 times 8, which equals 40. So if I cross multiply and those two numbers are the same thing, that also tells me that those two fractions are equal. So 4/5 and 8/10 are equal fractions. Now, simplest form, I want to think about that in the opposite. I want to think about a common factor of 9 and 12. What is a number that can divide into both of those? Or what is a number that I could multiply by to get both of those? And in this case, the answer is 3. So rather than multiplying, I'm going to divide. 9 divided by 3 equals 3. And 12 divided by 3 equals 4. So all I'm doing is taking 9/12 and I'm dividing it by 1. That 3 over 3 again. And any number divided by 1 is still itself. So again, I showed that up here. 9/12 is 3/4. In class, I did teach this a bit differently. Let's see. We can clear off my screen here just a little bit. Yeah, whatever. So let's say I have, we'll go with 16/20. Okay, so it's a little bit larger. I taught what we like to refer to as the cake method because it's kind of like building a multi-layered cake. If I have 16 and I have 20, I want to think about a number that goes into both of those. So a common factor of 16 and 20 would be 2. 2 goes into 16 8 times. 2 goes into 20 10 times. Now, to know if this is simplest form or not, I have to ask myself, 8 out of 10. Is 8 over 10, do 8 and 10 have a common factor? And the answer to that question is yes again. 2 goes into both of those. So 2 goes into 8 4 times. 2 goes into 10 5 times. Do 4 and 5 have a common factor besides 1? Number 5 is prime. So 5's only factors are 1 and 5, which tells me that it does not have a common factor besides 1, so that is my simplest form. 4/5 is the simplest form of 16/20. The final thing we want to talk about is comparing fractions, knowing which one is greater and which one is less. So think about our symbols, greater than, less than, and equal. If my fractions have the same denominator, so the same bottom number, comparing my fractions is quite simple. I just have to look at the numerators. If I have 3/4 and I have 1/4, which one is bigger? You can always think about the numerator or the denominator as kind of like your units. If I have 3 cows and I have 1 cow, where do I have more? And the answer is 3. 3/4 is greater than 1/4. What if I have 4/5 and I have 7/10? That's like saying, well, Billy has 4/5 of a chocolate bar, and Johnny so Billy has 4 chocolate bars and Johnny has 7 oranges. Who has more? Well, you're comparing chocolate to orange, and in my opinion, the chocolate is worth more. Okay, we need to make those the same denominator. Now remember how we made an equal fraction. You multiply it by 1 or a number over itself. So how can I make 5 into 10? By multiplying it by 2. So 5 times 2 is 10. 4 times 2 would be 8. So 8/10 is equal to 4/5. Now I have 8/10 and 7/10. I can truly see which one of those is bigger. 8/10 is greater than 7/10. Now what if I've got 1/4 and 1/3 that I want to compare? And I don't have a I can't easily turn 3 into 4 or 4 into 3. The easiest thing for you to do is to multiply them both by a form of 1 of the opposite number. So if 1/3, I'm going to multiply that by 4 over 4. So if I multiply that by 4 over 4, 1/3 is going to be 4/12. And then I'm going to do the same thing here with the opposite number. I'm going to multiply the 4 by 3 over 3. This will make it so they end up having a common denominator. that common denominator has to be there for it to be able to be compared. So 1 times 3 is 3, 4 times 3 is 12. So now I have 3/12 and I have 4/12. Well, 4, my top number, is bigger than 3. 4/12 is going to be greater than 3/12, so I want to put the less than symbol. 3/12, or 1/4, is less than 1/3, which is 4/12. Okay, so overall, this is just a basic introduction of fractions, making sure you understand fractions, numerator, denominator, improper fractions, mixed numbers, and then being able to compare them and create those equal fractions and common denominators. So have fun with the practice. If you've got any questions, please reach out.